All right, welcome. Today we're going to take a look at evaluating algebraic expressions. The main thing to remember that when you are asked to evaluate an algebraic expression, we are going to substitute the values of the given variable to find the expression's numerical value. So this is the point where we're actually finding more of what you would consider an answer to that. Remember, it's often useful to use parentheses when substituting a value into an expression because sometimes it's not just a singular number value, and to use the correct order of operations. On your notes, I included just a reminder of our order of operations. So remember, we're always going to take care of P, which is any of our grouping symbols first. And then within the parentheses, we're going to follow order of operations. Okay, and then E is taking care of any exponents. Then multiplication and division, we want to make sure that we're always doing that from left to right. And then with addition and subtraction as well, from left to right. So just because M comes first in PEMDAS does not mean that multiplication always comes first in our problem. Let's look at our first example. So on our first example, we have simply the expression n minus 6. And we're going to substitute in the value 14 for n. So I'm going to put in 14 minus 6. And since 14 minus 6 is 8, that is the value of our expression. All right, on the next one, we see that we have 5x plus 1. Well, remember that 5x means we're going to do 5 times x. This is a case where it is helpful to put in that parentheses to help show that multiplication. So it's be 5 times negative 2 plus 1. Now, following order of operations, multiplication comes before addition. So 5 times negative 2 is negative 10 plus 1 gives us a value of negative 9. All right. On number 12, we have 24 divided by k minus 5. So I'm going to rewrite this as 24 over 6 because k is equal to 6 minus 5. Division comes first. 24 minus 6 is 4. 4 minus 5 is negative 1. Now, in each of these examples, hopefully you notice that as I worked through the example, I wrote down my steps little by little as I went down, so I could see clearly that I replaced the 5 times negative 2 with negative 10, and then I simplified to get negative 9. This is important to do this. It's almost kind of like a funnel, if you think about it that way. So it's easy to identify if and when you make any mistakes. All right, so why don't you pause the video and see if you can try these or do these next 3 on your own. All right, so now we have 13 minus y, which is 13 minus negative 8. Here I use the parentheses to help show that it's minus a negative. And remember, when we minus a negative, it's the same as adding a positive because taking away anchors is the same as adding floats. So this one should have a value of 21. The next one, we have 4 to the second power plus 3. Exponents come first, so 4 times 4 is 16. This would have a value of 19. And then we have negative 3 squared plus 2 times negative 3 minus 10. Now, here is something that's good to know, is that because these are separated by addition and subtraction signs, I can actually do these 2 things at the same time. Technically, yes, exponents come before multiplication, but the bigger thing is that they're both going to come before we add. So negative 3 to the second power is 9. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. And then minus 10. 9 plus negative 6 is 3. And then we have 3 minus 10 is negative 7. All right. Now, I'm not going to go through all these examples on the bottom, but I will show you the answer so you can definitely check your work. The big thing on this bottom part is just being aware that sometimes we can have more than one variable, but it works the same way, and we're just going to make sure that we substitute in the appropriate value for the appropriate variable. So for example, we have 10 plus 2p minus r, so this becomes 10 plus 2 times our p value, which is 3, minus our r value, which is 5. Multiplication comes first, so I'm going to do 2 times 3 first. And then we have 16 minus 5, and we get an answer of 11. I'm going to jump down to 19 just because I think a lot of times fractions intimidate people. So when we look at number 19, this becomes 1/5 of our x value, which is 25, plus 1/2 of our y value, which is negative 18. And now 1/5 of 25 becomes 25 over 5 plus negative 18 over 2. And even though these are written as fractions, we're going to think about them as division. So 25 divided by 5 gives us a whole number of 5. And negative 18 divided by 2 gives us an integer answer of negative 9. And then 5 plus negative 9 is negative 4. All right, so I would encourage you to pause the video, try out these last 4, and then I will show you what the answers are, but not necessarily going through all of them. All right, so this becomes 8 over 4 plus 12 over negative 2. So it becomes 2 plus negative 6, which is negative 4. 3 times 10 minus 3 to the third. So we have 30 minus, and then 3 to the third is 27. 46 minus 0.25 times negative 28 minus 0.75 times 16. And so really that's 1/4 and 3/4. We can use a calculator. So this becomes plus 7. And the reason for that is we have a minus sign and a negative, so it's kind of like a negative times a negative, so it's going to give you a positive. But then this will stay minus 12 because it's a minus or a negative times a positive. And now I'm just going to work across. 46 plus 7 is 53, minus 12, and the answer is 41. Becomes 6/4 plus half of 4 is 2, minus 1. 6/4 is the same as 1 1/2 plus 2 minus 1. So this becomes 2 1/2, 3 1/2. Math mistake. So 1 plus 2 is 3, minus 1. So our final answer is 2 1/2. All right, hopefully that's helpful, and then make sure you pick up your practice and keep working on this.